Yeah, Google Marketing Live. So we went out to that in California, and the first day I'm sitting in the audience, and we just moved into a new 4,000 square foot office. We've got 26 employees. That's a pretty big payroll, and I was going, oh man, I'm gonna have to find something to do in the next year or two, because Google is automating everything. I mean, this is gonna be push button easy. And I literally was thinking that, like, man, this is not good. Why did Google invite us here if they're going to be automating everything? But by the end of the first day, and them talking about their 20 different beta programs they were rolling out, and after listing some more, it was key to me that if you're a product seller or in the agency side, there is a lot to learn. And there's a lot to make sense of. And that's why you just can't set these things and forget them, even on smart bidding. Smart bidding doesn't mean set it and forget it and go run your Facebook ads. Yep. So you still are going to have to pay attention and make good decisions based on what's happening.
Welcome to Show Me the Nuggets, where each week Joe chats with world-class entrepreneurs to find out the key principles, strategies, and processes that lie behind their outstanding achievements. Now, your host, the no-bullshit serial entrepreneur, Joe Troyer.
All right, so I'm here with Chris Brewer and Brett Curry. Thanks for joining me today, guys.
Hey, what's up, Joe? Glad to be here.
Yeah,
hey,
so we have known Chris for quite some time, but not Brett. So I'm excited to kind of hang out with you today, Brett, too. Get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, man, the famous Joe Troyer. Like all the time I was hearing stories about how smart you are, how cool you are. And now to finally see you and speak to you, it's an honor.
Way to pet my ego, man. I really appreciate that. We're going to make sure we hit this one really hard with some traffic.
Good.
So, Chris, man, it was always good hanging out with you in masterminds. I felt like we were able to click really well on a lot of Google stuff, doing a lot of Google ads, both of us. So kind of able to nerd out and go real deep on that stuff, while a lot of other people kind of looked at us like we were crazy. But thanks for jumping on with us today.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here. Yeah, all of those affiliate guys, affiliate is good and you can run a lot of traffic with paid, but those people with those huge lists, they just didn't really understand that cold to warm to hot traffic funnel.
100%. Cool, guys. So today, what I wanted to do is really pick your brain. And I wanted to do it in a perspective that made sense. So I have a client right now that is in the keto space and they sell supplements. So MCT oil, MCT powder, keto pre-workouts. And really, I wanted to be able to bring you guys on here and really pick your brains, right? What should they be doing? What should their strategy be? And kind of dive deep as if we were going to unfold a Google shopping campaign for them directly. But before we kind of jump right in, I thought it'd be cool, obviously, Chris, give everybody your background and then let Brett go. Don't hog each other's time, but give a little background, let everybody know who you are, where you're from, kind of what your history has been, and then we'll kind of jump in.
Yeah, way to go. Let Chris go first. Jeez, he's going to steal all my thunder.
I'll be brief, Brett. I promise I won't take too much of the spotlight off of you. So I'm the co-founder of OMG Commerce, Brett's business partner, and I've been around marketing, for way too long. You can see I have a lot less hair than Brett. It's also more gray than Brett. So I've been around this space for a long time. Had my first website, which actually coincidentally, I didn't even come up with this till the other day, but my first website was actually an e-commerce website back in the day called findasign.com. And I think it went out in like 2003 or 4, maybe somewhere around that time, maybe a little earlier. But that's back when I had a outdoor advertising company, and then I've been in direct mail, and then Brett and I partnered up close to 10 years ago and just been growing this agency. And some of you probably recognize Brett and I from our days with when we were partnered with Russell Brunson and doing .com Secrets Local. And, Russell did something, I don't know, you may have heard of it, called ClickFunnels, and it kind of got kind of big, and our agency was growing. So what was that, Brett?
I think it's got a few users. ClickFunnels managed to scrape together 3 or 4 users.
200-300, something like that. It's nice. Yeah.
Not that many.
That's a little bit about me.
Cool. And then I'm also a bit of a marketing junkie. I started mainly in offline marketing, TV, radio, dabbled in a little bit of print. Did my first SEO campaign in 2004 for an e-commerce company and fell in love with it. So I figured out that was what I wanted to focus on was online marketing. And then I guess it was about 2012 when Google Shopping became paid only, so pay to play. So when it first became product listing ads, that's when I heard how amazing it was. So a good friend of ours, Todd Criney, approached us at an event. I think it was another Firestone event or something. And he said, man, I'm getting like 10 to 12x on my product listing ads. And so at that point, I knew this was going to be huge. And so I wanted to focus on it. So I kind of dove in with both feet, nerded out on Google Shopping, learned everything I could learn about it, talked to people, started running campaigns, kind of became my thing for a while. I wrote the ultimate guide to Google Shopping, which is still kind of the number one result. If you search for Google Shopping Guide on Google, it shows up first. Still Shopify published that. But yeah, it continues to be a staple for us, Google Shopping. And it's not the only thing we do. It's not the only thing I would recommend e-commerce companies do, but it's still very effective, usually very efficient. And yeah, excited to talk about it today.
So you guys obviously run an agency, and we were talking earlier before we actually hit record. What percentage or how much of your business actually comes from e-com companies?
I think it's about between 70 and 80% is now
Okay.
e-commerce. That's really where we've been
Okay.
growing. We have some kind of lead gen and franchise groups we work with still,
Yeah.
but yeah, almost all of our growth is e-commerce. We're 70, 80% e-commerce
Okay.
right now.
So if you're just looking at e-com, where do you think that Google Shopping as a campaign kind of fits, right? So
Yeah.
somebody comes to you and they're not doing anything, right? Kind of what would that roadmap of things to roll out, right, be for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys kind
Yeah.
of see that, envision that? How do you guys pitch that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we like to think in terms of shopping funnels. So how do we reach people at different stages of the shopping journey or the shopping funnel? So it's kind of the awareness stage at the top of the funnel, which someone's just trying to become oriented with what products and solutions are out there. When they get kind of mid funnel, that's when they're getting more serious about buying and they're comparing models, they're comparing prices, they're really doing some detailed shopping. And then bottom of funnel is kind of when they're looking at when and where do I buy. And I would place Google Shopping primarily in kind of the mid to bottom of funnel. You could do a little bit of upper funnel stuff with Google Shopping, but it's mainly mid and lower. So in our opinion, it's one of the first campaigns that I think an e-commerce company should run because it's usually high efficiency. It's going to convert well. When someone sees that picture of the product and the price and your reviews, it's a pretty good click, and the conversion rates are pretty high. So it's one of the first campaign types we recommend. Depending on your category, it may not be huge in terms of scale, but it could be. It usually is going to convert very, very well. So you're limited to the number of queries, number of people searching for your products.
Okay.
Yeah, like if you've got a single SKU and it's in a highly competitive market, because there's always some sellers out there do a great job with single products, but sometimes single SKUs, just like on Amazon, we do some Amazon work. Sometimes single SKUs, you've got one item in your data feed, and that can be sometimes quite challenging. So, Brett, wouldn't you agree that Google Shopping works better, all things being equal, with when you've got a solid line of SKUs?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have enough search volume around your products and around your category. And if you have multiple products in your feed, it just gives you more chances to show up, and more chances for there to be that combination of you get a well optimized product, not super competitive, with clicks and stuff, other people trying to get exposure for the keywords you want to get exposure for. So yeah, multi SKU is better for Google Shopping, but I would recommend it for everybody. Anybody running an e-commerce company, if you're on Shopify or BigCommerce or Magento or Woo or whatever, I recommend you give Google Shopping a shot. Yeah.
Cool. So when if somebody's already running traffic through Google Ads, right, and they're running direct, a normal ad, right, direct to their landing page, and they're not using Google Shopify, or if they're not using Google Shopping, right, they're just going direct, they're not using their feed, right, and it's profitable for them. Is that like a good indicator that Google Shopping is probably going to be a good fit for them?
Yeah, I think so. So if they're running, so you're saying someone's running AdWords already, so they're doing
Yep.
search ads and search ads are
Yep. Search
working?
ads. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if search ads are working, Google Shopping is going to work. Really, the only times Google Shopping doesn't work is if it's a product that Google has a hard time matching product to query, or if the
Yep.
user has a hard time too. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes custom apparel is weird, or apparel that's hard to describe, or we've seen issues with rugs. Whatever you call it, area rugs and stuff like that. Because how do you describe a rug? So if I'm looking for
Yep.
an area rug for my home, am I looking for something like with amoebas on it, or am I looking for like a checkered pattern, or what am I looking for? And
Right.
so that's harder. Whereas if someone's looking for, to use your example, I need some pure MCT oil,
Yep.
or I need some raw coconut oil, organic coconut oil. That's easy for Google to match query with product.
Yep.
Um, and easy for you to bid on. So then, we've had
Right.
some customers that sell like weird blouses and stuff with really weird designs that are super hard to describe with a search query. Those struggle more with Google Shopping typically.
But I think it's good just to point out that if anybody's new to Google Shopping, if you're running search campaigns, you're used to bidding on keywords, and it's an important uh, point to make that Google Shopping is not bidding on keywords. So even though Brett's talking about search terms and queries, it doesn't work exactly like that. So
Yep.
Brett can expand on that, but you're not bidding on keywords necessarily in Google Shopping.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good point. So it's still the traffic source is still based on search queries, right? So someone has to type in a search to Google before the ads fire. But Chris is absolutely right. You don't get to pick your keywords like you do with search. So search, you can tell Google, I'll pay $1 for this keyword, I'll pay $2 for this keyword. You don't get to say that. You bid on your product. And it kind of has a combination of paid search and SEO. So I know, Joe, you're an SEO guy from way back.
Yep.
There's some SEO components to this, right? So getting your product title set up properly, your description, all that. We can dig into that as deep as you want to go, but it's more about optimizing the feed so that Google looks at the feed and they look at your product detail page and they say, you're about MCT oil. And so now we'll show your ad for that. And then you have to bid kind of on a product level. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So are most of the stores that you guys are working with these days Shopify? I mean, is that kind of
I would
overall?
say so. I don't know what
Kind of
percentage.
pretty still spread out. What are your thoughts?
I'm sorry, Joe, I cut you off. What was after the Shopify? What'd you ask?
Is it pretty spread out still, or is it is the majority Shopify, or what are you guys seeing on your side?
Shopify is the
I
most
think,
popular for sure. Yeah. Go
yeah, I
ahead,
think,
Chris.
I mean, we've ended up getting a lot of leads and referrals from some people in the industry that are very big on Shopify. So I mean, we have gotten a lot of Shopify business, but Magento is still very big out there. I think in the last 2 months, I've had people that are on BigCommerce, even a couple of Volusion stores. Both of them are actually getting ready to move to Shopify, and we work with WooCommerce. So there's a lot of different platforms that are out there that are using Google Shopping, and I think it's also important to point out that your data feed, what you're feeding to Google, doesn't have to be based off of what platform you're using, because there's a variety of plugins that are out there that are available, and there's some really great third-party tools that we use with our customers, and that might be a resource we could share on the podcast, a couple of those resources.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going, is kind of what are the platforms that you're seeing most people using? Obviously, Shopify, the biggie. And then, is there any recommendations that you guys have if somebody is using Shopify, for setting up their feed? Is there things to look for, things to stay away from, just a company that, hey, you should just go work with, or kind of what are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, so to answer the first question, Shopify is the most popular for sure. I'm seeing quite a few WooCommerce. That would kind of be
Yep.
my sleeper, like someone who 5 or 6 years ago would maybe want to go Magento, because Magento is so customizable. Now Magento is more enterprise level, so the cost of operating a Magento store is super high. So I think Woo is really making a big push, but Shopify is still the big dog, without a question. So in terms of your feed, it really depends on how many products you have and how often those products go in and out of stock, or how often they're updated. So your product feed is really just all the data Google needs for your product to be able to build the product listing ad. So it's your title, description, product category, product type, price, availability, all those things. If you just have a handful of products, like less than 10, and if those products are pretty much always in stock and you're not changing the price a whole lot, then I actually like a manual feed. So I like to use a Google sheet. You can use the Google Shopping template, customize your title, customize your description. It doesn't have to match the title and description that's on your product detail page.
Okay.
So optimize that, insert, top keyword, maybe top 2 keywords in your title, put additional keywords in your description. Although descriptions, it's kind of questionable now how valuable your description is. There's some debate in the industry, kind of like meta tags were maybe. Like, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? I don't know.
Keywords tag.
Fill out your product description. Product type, that's a place you can kind of put some keywords. So I like manual if you don't have very many products.
Yep.
If you have, north of 30 or 40 products, or you have products going in and out of stock, or prices changing, there's a couple of tools we like. One, there's a direct integration with Shopify and Google Merchant Center, and it works pretty well. Like, you can use that, and then you can use some different tools inside of Google Merchant Center to customize the title and the description.
So for my client, honestly, probably under a dozen SKUs, right? And that probably includes a couple of bundles. So just by hand in this example, right, would definitely be the easiest.
I like it. Yep, that's what I would do. But then there's also a good tool that we might recommend, and we don't get anything for this recommendation, but I like Data Feed Watch a lot. So that's a plugin. It's a service. You have to pay a monthly fee. It's nominal. Also, Go Data Feed is a good one. So both of those are good. The advantage there is you can create rules to say, hey, if there's a product that's in this particular category, then take the title and add these keywords to the end of the title. And then that tool will optimize the feed without changing your site. Because some people want like a real minimalist, cool title on their product detail page, but they need something more robust to send to Google. And those tools will help with that.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So then once you get the feed set up, you submit it, kind of what happens next? Walk us through the next steps.
So the first time you submit your feed, Google will manually review it. So someone will actually look at the feed. They'll look at your site. If you're you use the supplement category, although really keto could also be like whole foods. You could put one in that category. So it's pretty easy to get keto type stuff approved. But if you're running anything that's
no.
What's that?
What was that?
The MZT oil will be a no.
No. You're thinking CBD.
Oh, CBD. That's right. Sorry. I was thinking, see, that's probably a common thing that happens with that guy. But sorry, I got my oils mixed up.
Yeah.
Here you go. But
CBD
actually, it is a good thing. And I can send you
CBD coffee. Customer just sent it to me. CBD coffee.
How is it?
Pretty great. Yeah.
Well, but what I was going to say is I could send you a link. Another link you could use is that there's a list of substances and supplement ingredients that are that will automatically get disapproved. And when we first started taking supplement companies, we had a few surprises along the way. We get their feed set up and then it would get disapproved. And it could be just a single ingredient that maybe even the person that was manufacturing it didn't really pay much attention, but it's a banned ingredient. And I think for most supplement guys and ladies that are selling, they're not going to have this issue, but it's always good to review your products and ingredients before you put all of that work in so that you don't get a disapproval, because once it's disapproved, in our experience, it's been harder to get it approved, especially if you get a manual kind of disapproval.
Yep. So I do know that for MCT, they want to review from the FDA, which is very interesting. So not really sure. I know that they're working on that right now. My client is, at least, and I'm kind of getting ready with the feed and everything else to kind of go behind this. So something to think about. But I really like, Chris, that disapproved list. I think that's a really valuable resource.
Yeah, and you should be okay with the MCT oil. We've advertised MCT oil quite a bit. So if something kind of falls into the whole food category, it's much easier.
Yep.
When we start getting into supplements like testosterone boosters are almost always a no. CBD oil is always a no. There's some that don't work. The other thing that Google will look at is they'll look at your product detail pages, and they'll see if you're making any outlandish claims.
Yep.
Are you saying this substance will cure something, or grow your hair back guaranteed? That they'll look at claims.
Yeah.
And so I think we had a resource on that we can share too. Chris will kind of help along those lines. So we've had some clients where they've had like their typical product detail page that they'll send email traffic to that's pretty direct, and it uses direct sales techniques, and it's before and after, and it's got pretty bold claims. And then you've got the stripped down version for shopping. Hair regrowth products, we have several of those, but that's another tricky category. Like if you're doing hair regrowth, got to watch your claims. So Google will really take a look at that. I think Google's operating from the standpoint that they don't want to get sued, right? They don't 100%. Need one small supplement seller bad enough to risk getting sued. And so they kind of play the game pretty safe when it comes to supplements.
So if there was an issue with claims on a landing page, right, or on a product page, you've seen it work just duplicating the product page, right, and dropping the claims, and the feed goes through it, gets approval?
Yep, that can definitely work. So getting and because Google will look at the pages you submit in your feed, and they'll look at those first.
Yep.
However, if you're in like an outdoor category and you have any pictures of weapons, or you have any products that could be perceived as weapons, Google's even more strict about that. It seems like we had an outdoor product company. They didn't sell firearms, but they had pictures of people hunting with weapons, and we had to take those pictures off the site. So like it was just crazy.
Wow.
As opposed to people hunting without weapons.
I mean, you really got to be good. You really have to be sneaky.
Hand to hand. Bring them on.
The only kind of hunting that Google is okay with.
We're going to start selling ghillie suits and nets. Let's do it. That's my next vacation. I'm inviting you guys. Let's do it.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, that's my next vacation. I'll invite you guys. Let's do it.
Oh, dude. That would be internet gold if we filmed that. That would be amazing.
That's our next info product.
Yeah.
Let's see.
How to catch bears.
How to become a warthog wrestler.
There we go. There we go.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's some really, really good information. I was talking with another client, and they had prospective client, this one actually, and they had told me that they had some claims that they had to take down in order to get their feed approved. And I thought that was interesting. I didn't know really anything about it. I didn't see the before and the after either, but I have heard that. So thanks for that clarification. That's a good little tip. And obviously, I would just assume with all the Google stuff that I've done, having those claims on your other product pages long term is probably just asking kind of for trouble.
It is. And you're probably gonna get slapped in some way or another. I think it's better, like just get your claims cleaned up. Take a look at that. Another resource that's really good, and this is something people can look up, is called Legit Scripts. So Legit Scripts, also a great resource. Legit scripts like prescriptions. So if you go there, you type in any ingredient, any product, and then Legit Scripts will tell you if there are any issues with it. So if you got a flag system, yellow flag, red flag, green flag, or I guess it'd be green, yellow, red. So green means it's a approved substance, like Google's cool with you advertising it. If it's yellow, that's like a caution thing. So you can advertise it, but you can't make certain claims, and it will spell out the claims you can't make. And then if it's red, it means doesn't matter what you say, you cannot advertise that substance. So that's where CBD would fall into that category. So gotcha. Take a look at that. That's where you can look at the yellow flag products potentially and see what claims can be made or can't be made. But I totally agree with you, Joe. I think go ahead and get your product detail pages in a state that passes muster, that Google will approve. You're going to have to at some point anyway. So go ahead and do it now.
100%. Yeah, I think the other thing I'd like to bring up is I handle all of the inbound leads that come into the company, and it started around the time that the Cambridge Analytica deal was happening with Facebook, like last fall. Got a flurry of calls, September, October. my CPAs are going up on Facebook, or I've realized I need to get off my one-trick pony. And this year, again, we've had another flurry of calls of people that they're spending $20, $30, $100,000 a month on Facebook, but their CPAs are just really starting to go through the roof. So they're thinking, and it's a good thing to think. I mean, Facebook still works for a lot of people. It's going to continue to work. I like what Ezra Firestone said at a mastermind we were in recently, that the Facebook's news feed is just sold out. That's the issue. The news feed is sold out. So when you're in a sold out space, you are going to see costs go up. And so it's going to be a mindset shift if you've been doing great on Facebook, and especially the things that Facebook is going to say, no, you can't advertise that. The amount of times I have people that have said, oh, well, it worked on Facebook, should work on Google. No. Or this audience worked on Facebook, how do we get that audience on Google? So thinking about your audiences is different on Google. Thinking about what Facebook let slip by or what Facebook never caught. Those are important things that you need to think about when you're rolling out on Google. And also, you've got to give Google the chance to work where, and again, this is more a little bit back in the day, Joe, with early Facebook days, but when you knew how to do Facebook for an e-commerce product, if you knew what you were doing, you could get it dialed in pretty quickly and do very well. I mean, just take a look at the millionaires that Facebook has made on the e-commerce space. It's a lot. But on the Google side, you've got to really have more of a map to roll things out, because Google Shopping does take time to kind of gear up and optimize it and get it dialed in. And so you've got to have the patience, you got to have the cash flow, you got to have the budget to be able to kind of see through those potentially rough periods as it gets going.
So on that note, I'm curious then, is quality score a factor in terms of Google Shopping campaigns?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I think quality score is a huge part of what Google does with anything, search related.
Yep.
The difference is, though, with a search campaign, you can dig into your Google Ads account and see at the keyword level what the quality score is.
Okay.
With Google Shopping, you don't see it. So Google Shopping does not reveal what the quality score is, but they definitely calculate it. So the things you have to keep in mind, so just a quick, just people don't know what a quality score is. It's a score Google gives based on your ad relevance, your landing page relevance, and then your click-through rate or your expected click-through rate. So it's Google looking at your ad based on the keyword you're targeting and saying, how relevant is this? How good is this? How good is the landing page experience going to be? And it was brilliant on Google's part when they invented this, because it allowed them to say, we're not just going to reward someone for their high bid, we're going to reward them for a good quality ad. So the difference then on Google Shopping is, instead of it being ad relevance, it's feed relevance, because the feed is the ad, right? So the title, description, product type, product category, all that's what feeds the ad. So that's what Google is scoring. Gotcha. And really, if you think about it, the most important part of quality score is the click-through rate, right? That's what Google really cares about. They're really trying to decide how likely is someone going to be to click on this. And the more people click on your ads, the more excited Google is, because they feel like, hey, this is a relevant ad. People like this ad, they're clicking on it, and they'll reward you with better, lower CPCs or higher quality score, which leads to better CPCs.
And impression share too, because when we get somebody to take a look at their Google Shopping account, that's one of the first places at least I go, is I look at their impression share that they're getting for their ads. And if it is incredibly low, 15, 20, 25%, it's no surprise to me they're saying, well, we just really can't get these Google Shopping ads to work, or we can't get them to perform. Well, if they're only showing up 1 out of 10 times, or 1 out of 5, depending on your impression share and your competition, you're always going to struggle. So those things that Brett's talking about, the better you have those things dialed in, the more Google's going to show your ad, and that's when your efficiencies of scale can start to kick in.
100%. So let's talk about the bidding then, and how we optimize, right? So if we get the feed set up, right, we go submit the feed, we get it approved, we get past, all these issues. What are kind of the levers that we're pulling, and what are the big things that we need to, be on the lookout for and that we need to be watching, right?
Yep, sure. So this is something, this answer is very different today than it was a year ago, or especially 2 years ago. But to start off with, so if you don't have many conversions, if you're just getting started with Google Shopping, then I recommend just manually bidding. So, and I also recommend bidding at the product level. So to take your client who's got 12 products as an example,
Mm-hmm.
separate those products out within your ad groups if they're individual, and create a unique bid for each product. And then what you can do is bid up or down based on how it's performing. Are you getting conversions, not getting conversions? Are you above your return on ad spend target? Are you below your return on ad spend target? So bid up or down accordingly. But
Yep.
then once you get conversions, so once you've got like 20 conversions in about a 45-day window, then I recommend you use smart bidding. So use some of Google's
Yep.
smart bidding technology. This was I think this has been hard for some agencies to admit, and I'll confess, like some of our Google specialists, we've got 5 Google specialists that work for us full time. Some of them wrestled with smart bidding because they're like, but wait a minute, that's what I do. I bid, like I change bids. That's my thing, and I even like
Yep.
adjusting bids. But Google's smart bidding is so good now, and Google will make bid adjustments on things, on data, on behavior that they'll never reveal to us. So it's something like 70 million signals Google can look at for their smart bidder. So just a quick explanation of what smart bidder is. That's when you tell Google, hey, I want to reach this return on ad spend. And then Google's going to bid up or bid down to help you hit that return on ad spend. And we found it's pretty good. Like it's really good, in fact. And so Google can adjust bids on things like, the browser you're on, your connection speed, whether you're mobile or desktop, which we can do that too. But then Google also looks at things like, what's your browsing history look like? So maybe Joe's the one searching for MCT oil. We know Joe's bought 3 or 4 other keto products in the last month, and this
Yep.
is his 4th search for keto products. So we're going to bid up on him. Well, none of that data can we see as users. Only Google knows that data. So Google leverages stuff that only they know, and they can adjust the bid at a user level. So at the time of auction, they'll adjust the bid based on how likely they think someone is to convert. So we've just got to the point where smart bidding is really better than about anybody right now. So eventually use smart bidding.
Sorry, you cut out for a second. What was that formula again before you use smart bidding? Smart bidding. How much traffic do you
Yeah.
buy? Kind of how many visitors? How many sales? What was that
Yeah, so
formula
you
again?
need about 20 conversions within a 45-day window. So if you've got
Okay.
less conversions than that, Google doesn't really have enough data, so the smart bidder is not going to work very well. So
Okay.
manually bid at that point,
Okay.
and so then it's kind of you can kind of do the math and say, hey, this is our conversion rate, and this is what we're willing to pay per sale, and so we're kind of then working out our max CPC. But then once you get that conversion data, I recommend turning on smart bidding.
Yeah, and I was going to mention too that volume is key, and just be real careful if you're low volume. You may want to be playing a lot more with the manual bids. And it's interesting. I just got added to this paid search group. I'm actually doing some recruiting right now for a new Google Ad specialist. I had a buddy of mine get me in a Slack group. There's a bunch of paid search people. It's just fascinating to me watching their chatter about using smart bidding, enhanced
Yep.
CPC, and hearing people that I can tell have been doing AdWords, Google Ads for years and years and years, but they are really just so down on it. But then you see the guy posting down below who gives some stats and figures on exactly how he rolled it out, and then everybody gets quiet. So
Yep.
until you've really done a lot of tests with this, and if you've got solid volume, again, I've told this story before, but obviously not on your podcast. Is Brett and I went out to what was the Google Summit called in July or whatever, Brett?
Google Marketing Live.
Yeah, Google Marketing Live. So we went out to that in California, and the first day I'm sitting in the audience, and we just moved into a new 4,000 square foot office. We've got 26 employees. That's a pretty big payroll, and I was going, oh man, I'm going to have to find something to do in the next year or two, because Google is automating everything. I mean, I'm going to be, this is going to be push button easy. And I literally was thinking that, like, man, this is not good. Why did Google invite us here if they're going to be automating everything? But by the end of the first day, and them talking about their 20 different beta programs they were rolling out, and after listing some more, it was key to me that if you're a product seller or in the agency side, there is a lot to learn and there's a lot to make sense of. And that's why you just can't set these things and forget them, even on smart bidding. Smart bidding doesn't mean set it and forget it and go run your Facebook ads. Yep. So you still are going to have to pay attention and make good decisions based on what's happening.
Yeah, smart bidding I think is amazing. I think it's the future, but I think what you guys are trying to say is you got to be really careful, right? Either way. I had a campaign that we came in and I saved the customer over $20,000 a week in spend from Google Ads just from display, because we turned some of those things off, specifically when they were going after branded search. Because branded search, like the cost per clicks were almost nothing because nobody was bidding on his, on that brand, right? But Google was just shoving the cost per clicks up, right? And we were able to come in and just literally drop them and save them 20 grand a week, right? Because there was no competition. We were our own competition, right? Like, so I definitely think that's the way of the future. But I think at the end of the day, I agree with you guys. You got to be careful too and kind of pick your battles.
Yeah, you have to think strategically, and to your point, like I don't recommend smart bidding for branded traffic. Branded traffic is more about kind of being defensive and making sure you own all of the searches around your brand, and it should be super cheap. And so, yeah, in a situation like what you're talking about, the success of branded was masking the lack of success in other areas. And so, campaign segmentation is important. Your overall strategy is important. So yeah, it's definitely not let's just use Google's automation and call it a day. Like you still need to be paying attention. It's just the smart bidder, when done right and with the right campaigns, will outbid any human. And so that's kind of the way to look at it. Yeah.
I think it's the outlook and how you go about it. That's the important thing, right? And not just like you said, just setting it up and forgetting it. You're bound to lose your ass if you do that.
Yeah.
Which we've done a million times, and I'm sure you guys have as well. It happens. So inside of Google Shopping, as I look at it, I'm seeing things like return policies, right? Shipping policies. I'm seeing like special offers. I'm seeing obviously reviews. I'm seeing like no tax. What's important there, Brett and Chris, as you guys look at Google Shopping? What are you guys asking your customers or pushing on your customers to really do so that you guys can compete with Google Shopping?
You mean to take that, Chris, or do you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, I think you take it, because I don't know if I'm completely clear on the question, so you can roll with it, Brett.
Yeah. So in terms of some things you mentioned, reviews are super important. It can sometimes be tricky getting reviews approved. So Google prefers that you use a review aggregator, like a third-party review company like Shopper Approved or Yotpo or something like that. So reviews are extremely important, just like they are on Amazon or any other platform. So I highly recommend you use get your reviews set up to where the reviews show up on your product listing ads or on your Google Shopping ads. When it comes to things like return policy, sales tax, shipping costs, things like that, don't get too hung up on the sales tax and the shipping cost, because all Google wants is an estimate. So what you provide Google is just so they can provide an estimate to their customer. That's not actually the sales tax you're going to charge. That's not the actual shipping you're going to charge, right? That'll all be done on your site. Now make no mistake, like sales tax is a huge issue. Don't screw that up, or that's on your website, and that's between you and your tax accountant, or if you're using something like Avalara or whatever. So that's on your site. What you give to Google, it's just purely an estimate, so that if someone clicks into the Google Shopping tab, they can see shipping and tax estimates. So what you give to Google, just an estimate, so try to be as accurate as you can. Don't get too hung up on it. Google will let you know if they think it's inaccurate, and then you try to go and fix it. Kind of an easy fix if you're too low on shipping is just overestimate shipping. If you're high in your estimates, Google won't really say much. And if someone just clicks from the main search results page, so if I type in MCT oil, I've got all the text ads and then the shopping ads next to it. I don't see shipping costs in that. I have to click further to see it. So if you have to overestimate your shipping just to get things approved, but
I'm seeing
review,
just like I'm just seeing just like if you just do a search for MCT oil, right? You'll see
Mhm,
obviously like the review snippets are inside of the shopping area, right?
mhm.
Also, I see like 365-day returns and right free shipping is like a label on the ad. So
Yep,
really talking about kind of the different options in terms of the ad units there.
yep.
Is there
You can add
anything
those
that you guys
labels.
are
Yep.
finding like, yeah, you need reviews, like all of our clients, we push really hard. So for example, in local, right, the first thing that we do when we get a customer while we're onboarding and the team's going to work, right, we're working on reviews, right, and just crushing their competitors. So when we do get them clicks and we do get them traffic, that they convert it.
Yep. Yeah, reviews are huge. Promotions can be effective. So that's where you'd submit like a coupon code promotion
Yep.
to Google Merchant
Okay.
Center, and then a little sales tag appears under the product listing ad. And if you click on that and expand, it'll say 15% off, and here's the coupon code or whatever. That can help. I think it's worth testing. I will also say, because Google Shopping is a comparison shopping engine, Google does pay attention to price. So they know the price of products will garner a click for given categories. And if you're way off on price, that will affect your quality score and will affect how often Google will show your product. So
Very
think about
interesting.
price. I'm not saying, change your pricing strategy just to please Google, but I'm just saying be aware of that. If you're higher than everybody else, then that may or may not work for you. Maybe you can win on reviews. Maybe the product image shows that it's unique, so maybe you'll get click-throughs. But price does make a difference. And if I had to pick between either like a mid to higher price with a coupon code versus a low price, go low price, because Google's going to reward that low price. The promo may or may not work. It's worth testing, but I would go with low price if you can. So,
Okay.
Yeah, and I think this would probably be a good spot too to talk about, if you're in the drop shipping business, Google Shopping's probably going to be tough for you, and especially because if there's products that Target or Bed Bath and Beyond or Chewy's, if you're in the dog and cat space, if you got the same product photo, and you don't offer free shipping,
Yeah.
and that can be another designator. You might be $1 off on price, but you're going to charge shipping. And so you're going to end up just getting that abandoned cart once they hit your product page, because they're going to be like, oh, I think I saw free shipping back on the shopping results. And so that's where sometimes if you're a drop shipper and you're competing against products that are also sold on other big box stores, then you want to think about maybe bundling some products together, creating some new kind of combo SKUs off of your bundles, and things that can separate you from similar photos, things like that.
I love that. That was going to be one of my questions too, was how do we stand out in Google Shopping? Over time, it seems like it's obviously getting more and more competitive. I still think that there's a huge market for Google Shopping, but, what are the smart things that we can do to stand out right now? So I love the bundle idea, Chris.
yeah, and to kind of along the same lines, the good product image is super important. So if you look at kind of the areas that are most likely to help you get a click, it's your title, it's your price, and it's your picture, right? Those are the things that really help you get a click. And just to clarify something Chris said, drop shipping as a business model is not necessarily bad, right? Like you can drop ship somebody's product, but if there's a lot of other people drop shipping it, that's when you're going to run into trouble, right?
Yeah,
If it's
especially for
available,
thin margins, especially
yeah,
if your margins are thin, because
yeah,
then your
thin
ROI is
margins.
going to be a lot tougher.
Yep. So thin margins and the products available from lots of other sellers, then it's just going to be a race to the bottom. It's going
Yep.
to be tricky for you, but getting a good image is really important. So one of the things we look at is as we're beginning to dig into a campaign, we look for products that have really low click-through rates. So we look for what's a product that has north of several hundred impressions and less than a 1% click-through rate. And usually what we find with those products is it's either a bad image or the price is too high, or we've got something in the feed that Google is misunderstanding and they're showing us for random keywords, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of one of those things as the fix the image, clean up the feed so that we can clean up our keywords, or maybe add a negative keyword. You can do that, or its price. And so looking for those products that are not getting good click throughs and trying to clean those up, that's a great kind of ongoing way to optimize and make sure you're spending your money wisely.
Yeah, one little quick thing I'll mention, just since we're talking about kind of looking at your feed and what your feed says. There is a pretty sweeping update that Google made recently that relates to medical terminology, and we had some pretty huge feeds get massively disapproved, which was completely irrelevant to their products. So like one customer sold like charms that would hang off like a charm bracelet, and because it was a tag, Google's update disapproved that, thinking it was a medical ID tag. So especially in supplements, if you've got things in your product title that could be construed as a medical term, you may not be too surprised if your feed ends up getting disapproved for that medical reason. Then you've got to go in and submit a manual review and hopefully get it approved.
I see when looking at Google Shopping, it seems like some people are being like really smart, but maybe it's just negligent. I wanted to get your guys' kind of thoughts. Changing background colors, right? And making it pop because everybody seems to be using like a white background, right? Or just like everybody's product is the same exact like bottle or whatever, right? And it's white, 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 and then it's like bright orange, right? And it's like, wow, that one really pops. Do you guys put much emphasis into the product image or in that kind of a
It
sense?
depends. So for some people, it's hard for them to get a good image. So some clients are limited on what what their capabilities are for images. I think it is important that, I mean, the product photo is super important. So maybe it's a close up, maybe it's a product in a little bit better light, maybe you're highlighting some of the features and things people really care about for that particular product. It could be the background. Google kind of prefers a white background, but they're not, you usually won't get disapproved if it's not. The only thing you can't do is you can't add logos, you can't add text. So if you add things like made in the USA or on sale or whatever, add a starburst, as classy as those are, Google will disapprove that. So
Okay, so it's got to kind of be baked into your product image.
yeah,
Just add a puppy. You're good. Just add a puppy.
puppy
I
and
mean, I
everything.
was thinking a little kitten. I mean,
Puppy and a kitten. Split test it. Split test the puppy version. Split test the kitty version. Just see which works. Yeah.
okay, cool. So any other tips or tricks on just kind of standing out? I think we definitely picked up a couple like really good things, I think, on really getting the listing to stand out.
Yeah. So there's a couple things, if you're thinking about broader terms, I'll kind of use an example. We did some stuff in the outboard motor space. So
Okay.
people selling like outboard motors for boats, and there's this major competitor, and what they would always do is they would always push their lowest priced outboard motor. So for anything broad, like, I'm typing in Honda outboard motor, you could tell they were segmenting their campaign and bidding up so that the smaller horsepower, cheaper outboard motor showed up for that. Then anything, if there's a specific query, like I want the 8 horsepower motor, or I want this specific motor, then those would show up. But everything else, they were pushing the low price motor. So remember, it is comparison shopping. So pushing your low priced option, pushing your highly reviewed products is also important, and kind of watching the click through rate on things and determining kind of where to segment. I would also begin to look, this is a little more advanced and maybe kind of hard to describe fully on the podcast, but look at adding negative keywords. So to funnel broad keywords to that low priced outboard motor, I'm going to add those broad keywords as negatives to the ad groups of the higher priced motors and kind of try to funnel that traffic. Even though you can't choose your keywords, like Chris mentioned earlier, you can add negatives and kind of force. You can work on your feed, work on your negatives, and kind of funnel the traffic where you want it to go. So that's the other thing, is think about what products we want to focus on for what types of queries, and then bid and use negative keywords accordingly.
That opens up lots of options. You got my brain spinning that one. Thanks, Brett.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning, we haven't talked about remarketing at all yet on the podcast, and obviously that's a whole nother podcast. But I think what Brett's talking about with that technique is if people are looking at different results and they're maybe not looking in that depth, they're just shorting by price and that looks like it. And with outboard motors, you can't really tell with that housing how large a horsepower really is that engine. So if they click through and you get them to your product page, now suddenly you're being able to add that person to your remarketing audience, and you're able to potentially move them further down the funnel. So there may have been some people thinking, oh, well, that's just going to cause me bounce traffic. Well, it's also going to gain you a share of audience that then you can remarket to with your brand, your products, and go from that angle.
What do you guys see as like a cost per click comparison between a Google normal display ad, right? Let's say on google.com, right, versus, or a search ad, right, versus a Google shopping click?
Yeah, Google shopping is,
any idea?
I'm sorry, what was that, Joe?
Do you have any comparison or any idea in the change in the ad unit price?
Yeah, so Google Shopping is almost always less expensive. So it's almost always cheaper to run Google Shopping ads than it is to run search ads. And if you go back to the click-through discussion that we talked about before, so the biggest factor with quality score is the click-through rate. So Google Shopping typically has better click-through rates than search as a whole. And so Google kind of rewards that with a little bit lower CPC. So it's going to vary wildly based on your category, based on specific keywords. But clicks can be 25% less than a search click. They can be 80% less than a search click.
Yep.
We try to kind of run some bottom of funnel type campaigns. We're doing just really low bids on Google Shopping, and we get some volume there. So, I mean, we've got some Google Shopping campaigns that are getting 25, 35 cent clicks, 15 cent clicks in some cases. Not a lot of volume there, but you can get really good clicks, like low, long tail, kind of low in the funnel clicks. So yeah, Google Shopping is almost always less than search in most cases, except for branded search. Branded search is going to be the cheapest usually.
So guys, any other trailing thoughts? We're just at the top of the hour. I don't want to keep you guys. You guys have brought a ton of value. Any trailing thoughts before we kind of disconnect here?
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention YouTube, just really briefly, and I'll just throw it out there as a teaser,
for sure.
like just
I love YouTube. I'd be down to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I think you got to use YouTube, one, for remarketing. So people that don't convert, set up some YouTube remarketing campaigns. There's a format called TrueView for shopping, which is kind of a marrying of the Google or the YouTube pre-roll video ads and Google Shopping. So it's your YouTube pre-roll video, Google Shopping is next to it. Running that campaign type as a remarketing campaign is awesome. And then there's a format called TrueView for action, where you can kind of bid on a target CPA and using that to kind of feed the funnel. So kind of to that awareness stage to kind of get people interested and aware of your brand. So I think that's where you got to look at, Google Shopping is amazing. I think it's going to be a viable channel for a long time to come, but it's still mainly kind of a mid and bottom of funnel channel. So what are you doing to feed the top of the funnel? Think about other things. So consider YouTube, and then look at, getting your search in place too. So your text ads along with shopping always will do better than just shopping. We see that kind of time and time again. So what would you add to that?
And I would just say, open up a Google browser and Google Brett Curry Google Shopping, and you'll find buku amounts of thought leadership and guides that Brett has put together on Google Shopping. I also would tell you, if you'll Google Sumo Brett Curry, just SUMO Brett Curry, you should see as number one result a recent article that Sumo put out on how Brett was able to recover thousands of abandoned carts using some YouTube techniques. And I would say that would be a tremendous article that you can go to. And when you land on that article, there's a little click through where you can get our 7 tips on building, converting YouTube ads, things like that all can be used with Google Shopping.
Wonderful. That was actually going to be my next question. Where should people, learn more about you guys and keep up with you guys all? So those are 2 great resources. And then your guys' main website right now is
omgcommerce.com. So OMG, like online marketing giant, omgcommerce.com. So check it out. We got resources there. Fill out the form if you want to chat with us. And yeah, that'd be the best place to go.
And then if anybody is looking for agency work, would you guys kind of, or Chris, maybe kind of recap who your kind of target market is, kind of your requirements, for anybody that would be a fit for you guys?
Yeah, well, our philosophy here is whether you're a good fit for us as a client or not, I'm going to make sure that you're well taken care of so that I don't just leave you to the wolves on your next search. So feel free to reach out to us on our site. But to give you an idea, our minimums, just for instance, to work with us on Google Ads is $2,500 a month plus your ad budget. So it's going to be pretty easy to figure out, unless you're spending $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month on ads already, or you're in a spot where we really think we can scale you up quick. You're probably not going to be the best fit for us right now. But I do know some other folks that you can trust that, like just 2-3 years ago, we were running Google Shopping only. We're not doing Google Shopping only anymore, but there may be some folks I could refer you to that could just set up some of those campaigns for you. But I always encourage people to get educated first, use some of the resources we told you, make sure you know what an agency is going to be doing for you and you understand the terminology and you understand how to read reports before you go and hire an agency. And I can help you there as well. So feel free to reach out either way.
100%. Great tips there as well. You got to have an idea. I always recommend somebody at least try, right? Whatever the marketing source is, get in, try, play with it for a couple of weeks, play with it for a month with your own team, right? And then choose if you want to, outsource it. And you're going to be much more adept and have a much better understanding of what the heck is going on than if you just, partnered with any agency right out of the gate. So definitely like that tip. So guys, thanks for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. We'll make sure to link up all the amazing resources that you guys gave us inside the show notes. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.